anytime, anywhere. Access inspiration that never switches off. Stuck in traffic? Elevate your mood and own the moment. Just looking busy? Make every second count. Tap into Kingdom content instead. One tap, instant power, real transformation. Download the Elevate TV app now. Exclusively on Google Play.
Elevate TV, advancing Kingdom lifestyle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Gichuki Report. I'm your host, Godfrey Gichuki. This is another amazing conversation, and I'm very, very excited that we can be here. Some of you may be watching this, in the morning, whatever time it is. I want you to join us. I'm asking you to join us for this amazing conversation. We are live on our social media platforms as well. So please, if you're logged in through those platforms, share with your friends, share the links, Elevate TV Kenya, Facebook, and YouTube channels. And welcome. Let's have a conversation. I have an amazing guest with me on the show. All my guests are amazing, but today I am very, very privileged to host on the show one Cyprian Nyamwamu. He's an amazing gentleman. He's the executive director of Future of Kenya Foundation. I'll be telling you more a little bit about him. Cyprian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr.
I want you to look at this camera and welcome our viewers. And then after that, I'm going to introduce you a little bit more.
Thank you very much, viewers. Welcome to the Gichuki Report. I'm very privileged to be here this evening with Dr. Please follow, share, and let us interact.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cyprian. I know we've had a bit of back and forth, but here we are. We are so privileged. So, ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Cyprian, like I've said, is a professional gender and governance, political risk analyst, policy management, and knowledge management. He's actually a consultant, and in all these areas, maybe in summary, you could say governance and gender. He's also worked as an advisor for government entities, civil society organizations, Christian organizations, and he's going to be telling us more about that. So he brings in a wealth of experience and knowledge, and the specialization in these areas. He actually studied social and political science at the University of Nairobi, and he's now pursuing a master's of policy and public administration at the KU. I think I know that school.
Yes,
the School of Policy and Public Administration, MPPA.
Yes.
That's an amazing institution. So that's very good. So Cyprian, welcome. I know you have a big story. What I do is with my guests, and is I always tell them to tell us about their career and how they got to where they are today.
Yes.
But before you do that, let me just remind our guests, we are talking about the state of the nation. We want to address ourselves to the issues that obviously have agitated Kenyans. As you know, our nation right now is going through a lot of shake-up. There's a big conversation. June 25 just took place this week on Wednesday. We were almost at the precipice of a catastrophe and the collapse of a nation. Somehow, so we're going to be addressing ourselves to that, and I believe that Cyprian has a lot to say about that. So here we are. Cyprian, just go ahead again, just give us a quick overview of where you're coming from, and then after that, then we can dive into the nitty-gritties of this conversation.
So thank you very much, Gigi, and I want to say that I've now been in the governance space for the last 25 years.
Right.
Working both in civil society, but with government institutions and religious institutions. And from 2005, we invested quite a bit of time with political parties. So those are the 5 areas or sectors that I have been working with. And I've also been working across Africa in about 17 countries.
Wonderful.
Advising and supporting various programs, including with the UNDP and among others.
Yeah.
Particularly in Kenya, since my days as student leader, I've been involved mainly in the space of constitutional reform. We believed that constitutional reform was going to be the first big step towards the Kenya Bora to Itakayo.
Right. Yes.
So in 1996, when we were on campus, at the National Convention, we developed what we call Njia ya Kufikia Kenya Bora to Itakayo.
Okay.
And the Constitution was the first of the 5 steps towards getting the Kenya that we all desire.
Right.
And wish for.
Yes.
So that's what I've been doing over the last 25 years since I left college, and I specialized in the area of policy. I also did postgraduate studies in global development analysis at the University of Kassel in Germany.
Yes.
And so I have been working, straddling those five sectors, as it were.
Wonderful, wonderful, Cyprian. Absolutely amazing, and I love your passion. I love your commitment to the transformation of this nation, and I think you've really done a lot of work. So, we want to talk about the state of the nation, and I want us to begin from maybe just first of all, let's address the issue of the state of our democracy. Where do you see Kenya? How does Kenya, where is Kenya as far as being a democratic republic is? Do you think that we are moving in the right direction? Do you think we are like this confused democratic? We claim to be democratic, but we are so mandate. So what's your assessment?
So thank you very much. So my assessment is that we are a democracy on paper. We are a democracy in terms of the form, but not the substance.
Okay.
Professor Maria Nzomo has recently concluded, she was my teacher at the University of Nairobi, has concluded that there has not been progress in terms of democratic culture. What we've done is to establish democratic institutions.
Okay.
But you know, a state rests on 3 important things.
Yes.
It rests on its institutions.
Right.
Then it rests on its culture and values.
Right.
And number 3, a state rests on its policies, laws, and programs.
Okay.
So what has happened is that we have built the institutions.
Yes.
But we have continued to have a very negative culture.
Right.
We are a very fragmented society. We do not share values as a people. We are not cohesive. We have a lot of ethnic and religious tensions. The institutions themselves are discredited. And then number 3, we have been making the wrong policies, and we have not been delivering the right programs over the last, I would say, 20 years.
Okay, okay.
So the end result of this diagnosis is that we have a democracy that is limping.
Okay.
Because it only has the institutional arrangement and the law in the books. But as the late Professor Okoth Ogendo said many times, and even published on that, he said that Africa has constitutions without constitutionalism.
Right, yes.
So we have a constitution, but we don't respect it. We do not honor it. We do not uphold it, like the case is in Kenya today. So we have people in office and institutions that have been established by the Constitution that do not uphold the Constitution. We have a sick democracy. And if I give an example, you will see where we are headed to. Nigeria conducted elections 2 years ago.
Okay.
Nigeria's population is 220 million. 98 million Nigerians were registered as voters. Only 27 million turned out of 98. Only 27 million
Turned out to vote. Okay.
Only 8 million voted for President Tinubu. So you see, what is happening in Africa, and this is the trend across Africa, and in Kenya you saw that 8.3 million registered voters did not turn out to vote. Citizens no longer trust that democracy and what we call liberal democracy is delivering the goods. So we are having a sick democracy. We are having a sick democracy which is actually dying, which is actually shrinking, which is because of having constitutions without constitutionalism. The culture is not there. The institutions are there, but the culture is not there. The policies are wrong.
Absolutely. I agree with you. The other day, I read a paper, or I think it was something that was written by Gichuki Manyara, of all people.
Yes.
And by the way, what he said surprised me, because he said actually, properly, technically speaking, we can conduct fair elections as long as the elections are actually concluded at the constituency. Because all you need is count the votes
at the polling station.
At the polling station.
And aggregate them at the constituency.
Yes. And announce the winner.
Yes.
So we don't need people don't need to put all their energy in the bombers and all that and all that. And he actually just said, look, if you don't pay attention to that, you're going to actually kind of lose the plot. And I was like surprised that I don't think that's what most Kenyans think. Most Kenyans think that elections are impossible. It is impossible to have a free and fair elections. The system is rigged and all that. Maybe you need to comment on that. How do you redeem, for example, or what needs to be done? What do Kenyans need to know and believe? Because you see, there is believing the truth and believing the lie.
Yeah. I have to agree with my senior and friend, Wakili Gichuki Manyara.
Yeah.
And I agree with him that it is possible to conduct free and fair, believable elections in Kenya, except that the trust deficit.
Yes.
The Kenyan problem is that we have a serious trust deficit in every process, including our examinations. You cannot hope to have credible elections when you don't even trust your own examination process.
You got it right.
We don't trust anything that is done by Kenyans. We even print our ballot papers in the Arab world, in Britain, in all these places.
Right.
Why? Because we do not trust ourselves. Where did we lose the trust in ourselves? And you can confirm that in terms of the level of trust in institutions. That's the practice that I do throughout the year, to check where the level of confidence in institutions is. In the case of Kenya, you will realize that the highest institution in terms of trust by the people of Kenya is the media. which is why the government is very uncomfortable with the media. Because the media has the confidence level at 79%. The second level of trust is what you call the religious institutions. That's where the church comes. And the church normally oscillates between 69 and 73%.
Okay.
Like, for example, it was at 73 when we were conducting the elections, but after Bomas, it dropped to 69.
Okay.
But what about, these are non-state institutions. So what about state institutions? State institutions in Kenya don't enjoy any level of confidence that you can call trust. The police were at 47% when we went to elections 2022. Right now, the level of trust in the police is at 26%.
Oh my goodness.
IBC, when you talk about IBC,
Yeah.
the level of trust in this IBC that is being curated right now is only at 31%. So how can a referee, globally, the practice is that any electoral commission that does not enjoy above 60% of confidence in the public, from the public, should not be allowed to conduct an election.
Okay.
So when ours is at 31%, you can see how far low it is. So there is a massive trust deficit in the country. That is why we cannot trust elections, because even within political parties, they don't trust themselves to do proper party primaries.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
could
yeah,
they?
their own party
They kill
primaries.
each other, they fight and everything else. They don't believe that they can conduct free and fair primaries in political parties.
Yes.
That's where they murder, slaughter each other, and then you expect that those people who don't trust themselves should be trusting IBC. So there's a massive problem in Kenya of what we call the trust deficit. And here is where the church has failed dramatically
Okay.
to restore trust amongst the people of Kenya. Could the church be playing or be part of the problem? I think the church is part of that problem, and we'll come to that. But I needed to answer your question about Gitobi Manyara and his commentary
Yes.
on elections.
Yeah.
We are not capable of holding free and fair elections because we do not have men and women in the Electoral Commission who can be trusted to be above the fray, who can be trusted to conduct free and fair elections. So then how can we trust those elections if we don't trust the umpire?
All right. So let me ask you, do you think that we have behaved ourselves into that problem through our political rhetoric, our, you see, once you start shouting at each other that you guys, we can't trust you, and then the other side, we don't trust you, and stuff like that. Of course, I agree with you on the bit of political parties have themselves proved that they cannot even conduct their own primaries.
Yes.
Do you think the political class has self-sabotaged itself and also kind of like also drummed up itself into this? How did we throw ourselves into that quagmire?
Now, don't think that they are self-sabotaging themselves. They like the situation as it is today.
Okay.
They are the beneficiaries. When people are beneficiaries of a status quo, they don't want to change it.
Okay.
All right? So the failed institutions are a result of the political class wanting to keep the situation as it is because they benefit directly from the situation as it is today. That's what we call the status quo.
Yeah.
So they are not self-sabotaging. They are actually setting up the country so that they can retain the power amongst themselves. I like giving examples so that people can understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Amongst the religious fraternity, since 1992,
yeah,
whether you go to the ACK, the Catholics, the evangelicals, whichever, even if you go to SUPKEM, there have been 6 transitions in the leadership of the religious leadership.
Yes.
If you go to ACK, for example, which is more prominent and a lot of people see those elections, there have been Manasseh Kuria, there has been, Okulu, there has been Gitare, there have been many, Nzimbi, there has been Wabukala, there is Archbishop Olesapit.
Yes.
There have been 6 transitions in the church generally.
Yes.
If you go to civil society, there have been 8 transitions since 1992. But you go to the political sector, there has not been a transition. Raila Odinga was there in 1996. He's still there, right? Ruto was there. He's still there. Moses Wetangula was there, nominated member of parliament. He's still there. Musalia Mudavadi was minister. He's still there. So there has not been a transition in the political leadership of the country. And if you go to the other countries, like Zambia, you go to South Africa, you go to other Tanzania, even Tanzania. Tanzania since 1992 has seen 4 transitions. From Mwinyi to Mkapa to, Jakaya Kikwete, there has been Magufuli, now there is Suluhu Hassan there. Kenya's political elite has refused that there will be no transition, which raises the Kenyan complex of what we call the interregnum, where the old refuses to die and the new cannot be birthed.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to be asking you to talk to us about that Kenya interregnum. I believe you're following this conversation. We are talking about the state of the nation. This is a conversation you don't want to miss. And I'm going to be looking at your comments somewhere towards the break here. Please, let's keep the comments coming in. Wherever you're watching us from, please, if you have a question for my guest here, we are looking at the state of the nation. Kenya is in this kind of a complex where we have a system that doesn't seem to change, and it appears that the political elites really are not ready to surrender or to hand over to the next generation of leaders, and they have created this kind of a lacuna of some sort where the new generation of leaders kind of fighting a losing battle, and it is very, very tough. So I don't want to put words in my guest, but I'm sure you're listening very carefully. So Cyprian, I think you've raised a very, very pertinent issue, that interregnum, yes. Interregnum, where the old refuses to give up, or rather, we say we have a transition, but we really don't have a transition.
There hasn't been any transition at all.
Look at our normalizing the handshake.
Exactly. Based on which constitution? Raila has been involved in about 3 or 4 handshakes, which we all celebrate because they have saved the day, but they're not based on any legitimate constitutional or legal order.
Yes.
Like the current one, where ODM is both in government but is also controlling the minority side in parliament, which completely disables parliament as an institution for oversight and for accountability. And Kenyans are not even talking about it. But you can see that this is illegitimacy in its very core sense. We are actually delegitimizing the state. The reason for which we set up institution is not being delivered on. No institution in the country is performing its mandate. And I keep saying that if the church realized that it is the only one which is organized enough, like it used to do in the 90s and the 2000s, the church should step forward today and convene the convention, bring the political bring the civil society, the academia, the professional societies, and let's have don't wait on the political class. They will never do this because they don't want change to the status quo. But I don't know why the religious are not doing exercising their convening power. They are the only ones who have the convening mandate outside the state.
Okay.
But they have refused to exercise that mandate.
Cyprian, I will bring this other, elephant in the house. Right now, the big conversation has been, the Pentecostals and the charismatics.
Yes.
Are the people that pushed the current president into power.
Yes.
And we went and had a celebration service.
Yes.
And after that, by the way, there was a major fallout. All right?
Yes, I know, I'm aware.
So we already have our own internal, conflict, and, it created quite, do you think
Yes.
that perhaps the church is not clean enough? It doesn't have clean hands.
Doesn't have to be. The Church of Christ is the body of Christ.
Right.
We have an honor. We don't. This is not our church.
Right.
We are the Church of Christ.
Correct.
The Bible says in Matthew that we are called to be the salt and the light to the world.
Right.
So it is not for us to say if we are clean enough or we are not clean enough. God uses his people to perform the mandate he wants performed in a country. The church cannot sit there and Dr. Oliver Kisaka, our CEO at, the Korat Africa,
Yes.
summarized it very clearly on Monday. He said that there are those of us in the church who see nothing wrong. And then there are those of us who see nothing right. And they said both of those types of people are not called by Christ. We are supposed to be the third category, which is we live according to the values of our faith. What are the values of our faith? The values of our faith are the throne of God rests on justice and righteousness.
Correct.
Those are our values. Righteousness and justice. What is justice? Justice is fairness and working according to the standard of God. That is what the church should do. How do you achieve that standard of justice? By standing by what we call the truth. Truth is a higher value, a higher principle, which then gives birth to justice. And that justice is what creates peace. And our Lord Jesus Christ calls us to be makers of peace. Makers of peace. There's a difference between makers of peace and lovers of peace. We are not called to be lovers of peace. We are called to be makers of peace.
Wow, wow, wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff there. We are about to go into a short break. That is a very profound statement, that the church, we are called to be makers of peace.
Exactly.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
Makers.
Not
For they will be what? They will be called the children of God.
Sons of God.
Sons of God.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we are having an amazing conversation here. Church leaders and those of you that are following this conversation, I think it's really reckoning. When you look at what's going on in this country, right about now in this country, 2 days after the Gen Z revolution, it's absolutely frustrating. And, it is amazing how this nation has slid into almost the precipice. And so we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to revisit that and ask ourselves, how can the church be really instrument of peace? How can the church really contribute to making peace, not just watching or loving peace, but making peace. More than maybe just, we need to jump into that. So let's take a short break, 2 minutes break. Don't go away. Stay tuned in. Take a cup of coffee. Let's come back to this conversation. And we are talking about the state of the nation. All right.
Thank you.
Kenya, are you ready? This July, all roads lead to Uhuru Park Gardens, Nairobi City, for the Standing Strong Conference 2025, happening July 17th to 19th from 9 a.m. daily. Here is how to register for free using your phone. Open your phone's camera or QR scanner application, hold it still over the QR code on this screen or in any of our adverts. Viewing on your phone? First, screenshot the code, then scan it from your gallery. Tap the link that pops up. Quickly fill in your details and tap submit. Scan now to register free. Standing Strong Conference 2025. Be there.
The Sonship Summit 2025. This is a MISPA apostolic mandate to the body of Christ. Renowned giants of faith will be ministering.
Ubaba si individual, ni institution ambaye Mungu amekabidhi mamlaka na nguvu na utawala.
Each ministry is a stream, is a river. And there are many rivers that are coming out of your system, out of your spirit.
Sonship is a function of revelation. It takes eyes that see to see the revelation, the potency, the weight of sonship.
When you're in the place of your father, with your father, there is no discouragement. Whatever he tells you, you know it is because he loves me.
For you to be a faithful, abiding son, put value on your father than the things of your father. Put value on him more than the name.
This June, running from 23rd to 27th at MISPA House of Prayer, Bahati, Nakuru. The Sonship Summit 2025, running from 23rd to 27th June. Come and encounter God.
All right, welcome back. This is the Gigi Report. We are talking about the state of the nation. And before we went to the break, we were talking about, the church and how the church itself is not just supposed to be a lover of peace. We are peacemakers. And so the church has a big place to, a role to play. We may not go into all the details of that. But I want us to return to a conversation, Bwana Cyprian. which we started discussing off the set.
Yes.
The biggest problem facing the
country.
Republic. We've talked about the democracy bit.
Yes,
And
yes.
I think we've seen, we have the institutions, but we lack the culture. We have a constitution without constitutionalism. And that, I think, is a big problem. And then now, what about, now, given all that, given the scene we have had this week, what exactly, you see, in academic, there's something called problem statement.
Yes.
If the diagnosis is wrong, we cannot prescribe.
That's right.
So it's a question I'm asking, what exactly is the problem of our republic? What is at the heart of it?
I have taken a bit of time on this now. And I want to tell you that in 2005, which is 20 years ago,
exactly,
the World Bank and the African Development Bank told us that Africa is going to experience what it called a youth bulge. In the Mokta, not Mokta, but there was this gentleman from Rwanda who was the president of the African Development Bank. I remember his name. Told us that the youth bulge will either be a youth dividend or it will be a youth curse.
Okay.
And now I am convinced, because we have been saying this, we spent, every time we went to State House with the bishops and the religious leaders, we told President Uhuru that the policy direction of this country is wrong-headed because it is not invested in equipping the youth of this country to not only be employable globally, but also to create an economy and grow it. And President Uhuru was interested in other things, and Ruto is even off tangent completely. And the youth bulge has caught up with us. So according to David Ndii, who's the government and the president's economic advisor, we have nearly 18 million unemployed adults in Kenya.
Yes.
Where 80% are young people below the age of 35.
Okay.
There cannot be a democracy where you have 18 million unemployed adults. There's not going to be a democracy. The problem of Kenya today is of economic failure.
Okay.
Where does economic failure come from? Economic failure comes from wrong economic policies. Where do wrong economic policies come from? They come from the presidency and in parliament. That is the problem of Kenya. A failed economy which cannot employ, it cannot feed, it cannot treat, it cannot educate, it cannot water, it cannot do things to its people.
Okay.
And these are highly educated people, because Kibaki increased the universities from 10 to 72.
Yeah, we have this whole bunch of universities. They are called the Kibaki universities.
The Kibaki universities. You go to Nyeri there are about 3 of them.
Yes.
There is Dedan Kimathi, I think there's another one, and another one.
And
you
Karatina.
Go Karatina, you go down to Meru, there are about 3 of them. Kemu, Meru University, there's Chuka, there is all these universities.
Yes.
And that causes the crisis of elitism. So you have all these people who want social upscaling, but there is no food, there is no money, there is no wealth. But people want to live glamorous lives. So the top 1% of Kenya has come to control nearly 90% of productive assets.
Right.
There's something else that we need to say, because you are an economist. When we were looking at the reports, we have actually been deindustrializing.
Okay.
Right now we have only about 680 factories in Kenya. 680 factories.
My goodness.
And these factories are doing animal feed,
rolling mabatis.
Mabati rolling. And we are talking about animal and chicken feeds as the factories in the fourth industrial revolution, which is ICT and technology driven, AI and everything else. You are seeing the wars that are happening in the Middle East. They are all AI driven, technology driven.
Yes.
But what are we doing? We are still in the age pre-industrial. We are pre-industrial.
No,
and we have 54 million people, where 18 million of them, adults, are unemployed. So the marriages are breaking. Okay? Family strife is real. Crime is going up. People are being recruited to terrorist groups because now prostitution, as the cost of prostitution, I was seeing in one of the NCCK reports, the cost of prostitution has gone down to 80 shillings. Yes. So you are talking about a country where people are ready. Even the cost of gangs and violence has been going down instead of going up. Right now, you with only 100 shillings, you can get, gangs for hire, who are being unleashed everywhere in the place. So we are actually headed to state failure and state collapse because we have never concentrated on addressing the economy. Who is baking the cake?
So, Cyprian, I agree with you.
Do you?
100%. I agree with you. The diagnosis, the problem is our economy, right?
Which has been failed by wrong policies because of inept and incompetent leadership that we elect in every election cycle. Kenyans are in love with the incompetent and the incapable, who then make wrong policies which have failed the economy, and we have been thrown into the self-annihilation mode.
No, in fact, one of the things I really think that we need to face, and which you have described very clearly, is so we are churning out these very huge numbers of highly educated, high expectancy. You know, these are guys so ambitious. I mean, if you graduate with a degree, obviously, you expect to make something out of your life. Now, and of course, the jobs are not waiting. There's no factory waiting to employ you. I mean, so it's a real crisis. Maybe even, do you think the church can do something about it?
Oh, yes, it has to. Can I comment on that?
Yes.
Europe, Christianity in Europe, this is the beauty of being a social scientist, because then you get to investigate why this happened in this place.
Yes.
You know that Christianity in Europe is dead now.
It's dying, dead almost.
No. Britain told us 3 years ago that the number of people who say they are Christians in Britain are only 48%.
Okay. They are less than 50%.
They are less than 50%.
They are gone.
So the people who are Christians, they are Nigerians and the Kenyans,
African immigrants,
and the Ghanaians, African immigrants, and the Caribbean pastors and the immigrants.
Yes.
So Christianity in mainland Europe is basically dead.
Right.
Why did it die? Because when the radical ideologies rose in Europe, there was fascism, there was capitalism, there was Hitler and his Nazism, there were all these ideologies that were trying to solve problems in Europe. Christianity did not propose
an alternative.
So Hitler convinced Germans that if you can slaughter Jews, the economy will work. And he slaughtered the Jews, and he built the industries, and he built the highways, and they believed in Nazism. They believed that the problem we had was Jews. If you terminate them, the economy works. Why am I telling you about Europe? Because right now we are at a place where we are not offering an economic and social proposal or model to this country, which is what EAK, the KCCB, NCCK should be doing, but they are not doing. So people think that it's Gachagua, Raila, Ruto, who actually can solve these problems. If we deal with these Kikuyus or deal with these Luos or deal with these Kalenjins, we will solve the economic problem.
Absolutely. You've raised a big issue there, and I totally agree with you that we have a problem called an economic problem. Everybody seems to see that. I mean, you can see the frustration, but then we have the wrong diagnosis. We don't have proposals on the table, and I mean, we all agree that every politician, all they care for is to sit in that house on the hill. If I can see, and then they have convinced us, they are electors, that if you put me in that house, I'm going to solve all your problems.
Exactly. Without explaining how.
Let me just read some of the comments coming in here. Cyprian, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, as you follow this conversation, we are so excited that you are following us. You are commenting here. So I just want to acknowledge Karen Mwehaki. Thank you for this joining us and commenting. Oh yes, there is a massive trust deficit. Brutal truth, Sir Cyprian. Are you saying the Kenyan complex can be sorted? So we're going to be raising that issue.
In terms of the solutions.
Brutal truth. Wilbur here is saying, I agree that there has to be transition. No transition. There has been no transition in the political leadership of the country. Brutal truth comes back and says, how do we do the generational transition without bloodshed? Peter Bogwa, the political players a problem or the system? Very candid conversation. That's what Manasseh Gedua is saying. Apostle Fred, thank you very much for following this conversation. The government needs to be firm. So I think we could maybe just tease out, because we asked what is the problem. And brutal truth you are saying, Sir Cyprian, are you saying the Kenyan complex can be sorted? So
can be resolved.
Can be resolved. So we agree that we have an economic crisis.
Yes.
And now Ruto, when he came in, he brought in, we have this better bottom-up economic. I have all kinds of misgivings. I checked the literature. Let me tell you, Cyprian, my problem. We were told bottom-up economic model is the answer to trickle down. Then I checked whether there is such a theory as trickle down. There is no such theory, economic theory, anywhere. So that's the frustration. So you are prescribing a solution to a problem which does not exist,
which you have not understood, which you have not properly designed.
So the whole framework is dead on arrival. Anyhow, but I like what you are saying, that the church, other people outside the system, I believe, maybe even think tanks, people like Cyprian and others, I think we need to have a real serious conversation. And even if we assumed we are the political opposition, whatever political opposition, it can't be, I am going to replace Ruto and then I'm going to solve your problem. There has to be a real tangible proposal. Do you see any politician or anyone out there who seems to have an inkling of how to solve the economic situation that we face right now?
I think it's premature, because I've been listening to all of them. A lot of it is populism. But I've interacted with the what you call the small parties and the small players, people like Okiom Tata. I've listened to David Maraga, our CJ Emeritus. I've listened to a few more people who have tended to point to the economic side of the problem. Okiom Tata, for example, says that the economic problem is the corruption and the stealing of the money that is available, and which forces government to borrow more, and then by borrowing more, for every 100 shillings you collect, 80 goes to
servicing
debt servicing. Which agrees very closely with what Jimmy Wanjigi has been saying and what Maraga has been talking about. I think we are going to have to be more thorough with that conversation than I have seen. The rest, I've listened to ODM, for example. ODM is saying that the problem is Kikuyus. If we can be able to get these Kikuyus out, then the country's problems will be solved.
Yeah, the hegemony, the Kikuyu hegemony.
The Kikuyu hegemony, and then I have seen this Wamonyoro thing that if our people can vote together as a bloc, we will kick Ruto out and we will solve the problem. And it is really hogwash. Let me tell you, to be very, very frank. And I risk this because I'm going to run for Nairobi governor, but I'm ready to stand by what is factual, what is truthful, because that is what will solve the problems of this country. We have to be very candid if we are going to help this country. So I am convinced that we are not hearing proper ideas that can be able to address our problem of the economy that has failed because of poor policies and because institutions and leadership has failed. We need, for example, to answer the question, how shall we bring back Parliament? Because Parliament has moved from being a watchdog to being a lapdog.
Yes, I agree with you.
Parliament is supposed to be a watchdog. It has now become a lapdog, the one that you hold when you have come from work and you say, give it milk and that kind of thing. That's what Parliament is. It's a lapdog. It's not a watchdog anymore. In that leadership failure, which is the African curse, is why we have wrong policies. When people keep hearing us saying wrong policies, what did Mwai Kibaki do within the first year of coming to government? Because I was in NCEC and we are the ones who brought Mwai Kibaki. I was a very young man. We are the ones who brought Mwai Kibaki to power. Mwai Kibaki did 5 things only. He, first of all, stopped borrowing from the domestic market, which is how interest rates went down. And by interest rates going down, there was money available both for the business people, but also for households to buy new furniture, buy new cars, and that's how the economy, resurrected from where it had been buried. So those are 2 important things. You must, first of all, ensure that you stop domestically borrowing so that there's money available in the banks to lower interest rates so that factories can be able to be reopened and you can lower the cost of doing business by lowering the cost of electricity and the cost of energy, etc. What has Ruto done with this bottom up? When Ruto came in September 13th of 2022, for every 1,000 shillings, you were able to get 57 units of tokens. Right now, for 1,000 shillings, you get 32.
Right.
Meaning that the cost of energy and electricity has doubled. But he has also increased taxes. Mwai Kibaki reduced taxes. That was the 4th step in the Mwai Kibaki ERS, Economic Recovery Strategy paper. Some of us who are research assistants and under David Nalo and Anyang Nyong'o in the Institute of Economic Affairs played an important role. And so, if you are talking about bottom-up, and David indeed is there, but there is policy incoherence. I want people to understand that we know the problem with the economic policies of William Ruto. You can't borrow more, tax more, increase interest rates, reduce the money available for business, and expect that businesses will operate. Businesses since 2023 have been closing down and pushing out workers. So that is the crisis of bad leadership, bad policies that have destroyed the economy.
I want to bring in something else, something slightly different. There is an obsession and an attraction, which I also see with our governor, the current governor here in Nairobi, of giving free stuff. Now, Kenya seems to be in this seduction. We want to become like the South Africans, introduce social support system, give people money, put them in their bank account so that we can maintain their royalty. for example, the feeding program. Do you feel that politicians would rather do something that is popular than something that is correct?
That is the sickness of politics.
Okay.
That's the sickness of politics. You see, that is why politicians are not leaders. And that's why I don't count myself as a politician. I call myself a revolutionary.
Okay.
We have to talk about the future. You've seen the name of our institution.
Yes.
The Future of Kenya Foundation.
Right.
You know, this thing of free fertilizer, free things, free... Who is financing those things?
Absolutely. That's my big question.
That is why you have to increase taxes.
Yes.
So that you have money to dole out free things, which are then stolen. And then you see politicians going to give free money to churches, free wheelbarrows, free bicycles, motorcycles, and all that kind of thing.
Free fertilizer, free manure.
Actually, that is how you deindustrialize.
Okay.
That's how you deindustrialize. Because instead of lowering the cost of business and money for businesses so that they can be able to expand and employ, you are taxing them more so that you can be able to dole out free things so that you are popular and you are electable. And that is what we have been observing, where the president keeps going everywhere and saying, I'll do you this road, I'll bill you for this. But you are saying, it is not in the budget. So where are you going to get the money to build these things? And Morara Kebaso has shown you that these things are not being built because there's no money for that. So I don't want to talk about, because Nairobi has been very unfortunate. 70% of the people who vote live in the informal settlements, or what we call the slums. Although they are not slums, actually. Slums are what in Kenya you would call Zimmerman, probably. These are what you call slums. But we call the Kibiras, the Madares, slums. Because majority of the people live there and they are the voters, they tend to vote for people who can take for them free things,
okay,
including money. And therefore, they tend to elect the wrong people, who then plunge them deeper into the hole. So time has come for them to say that, can we be honest about ourselves? And this is going to take a massive level of organizing, which I have started to do here in Nairobi, for you to turn around the country and from the capital. Nairobi is very significant, and we cannot be able to keep making these mistakes.
You talked about the culture, the democratic culture. I mean, a culture where there is the ideal, because what you're saying is that our political model, our electioneering, behaviors and culture it favors the current crop of political actors.
Exactly.
I don't like using the word elites,
because even leaders, they are not.
Because they are really not in any way elite in any way. So there is a lot of civic education. Do you think, Gen Z?
It's good we have come to that.
Is there a chance that this generation of young people could see the light and bring sanity to the table, go register as voters, and come and say, no, we are electing so and so and not so and so? Is there a chance that
There's a big chance
that this generation could be persuadable? They could begin to think outside the box, and they can hear a conversation, for example, coming from somebody like you and others?
I spend a lot of time with them across Nairobi. I've actually declared myself as the patron of the young people in Nairobi.
Right.
And I spend a lot of time with them. And I want to tell you that they are only one little step away from delivering this country.
Okay.
The only thing that is lacking in the Gen Z uprising and the movement is they are not forging partnership with the church and the religious leaders. They do not know something that we knew when we were in the university.
Okay.
That you cannot bring change on your own.
Yes.
you need what we call the tripartite alliance.
Right.
All the changes that we have brought to this country have been delivered by the tripartite alliance. What is it? The tripartite alliance in Kenya consists of the secular civil society and the academy. Then it consists of the religious. And then the third is what we call the political parties, both in the opposition but also in government.
Yes.
So how do you deliver change in Kenya today? You need a national convention. You need a national convention convened by the churches tomorrow. At Bomas, at KICC, at Ufungamano, at Limuru, wherever.
Yes.
And you need all the 23 sectors represented, persons with disability, the youth, students, and everybody else. So you bring the convention together. At the convention, you say, why are we not agreeing with what the youth of our country are saying? And what are the youth of this country saying? They are saying they want a country that works for everybody. And they have identified 4 problems which are making Kenya not work. Ukabila. They have identified ufisadi, the corruption. They have identified wastage and opulence. Last year you saw them condemning this, big
watches
spending and
shoes,
largesse.
Yes.
And they're saying they want institutions that uphold the rule of law and justice. Only 4 things. They are saying this is what is needed to work. So the youth of this country, the Gen Zs, and actually the millennials, are the force which is going to turn around the country. But to break the interregnum, because Ruto and Raila and all these have said we are not going away. For the youth to remove the interregnum, they need the partnership with civil society and the church and the religious leadership. If they work with them even for a week, you will not even recognize this country, because this country will go to work, the institutions will be resuscitated, and we will get the right leadership in 2027. So let them forge the partnership with the tripartite alliance for the sake of Kenya, and we will deliver a new country.
Absolutely. Can you imagine? We are out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing. If I ask you one more question, we will not end this conversation. So thank you so much, Cyprian. I truly have had you out, and you've done an amazing job. In fact, what you've wrapped up with.
But will you allow me to let my viewers know that I am the people's governor for Nairobi in 2027?
Yes.
And by the grace of God, because for the last 11 years I've been working with the churches in our country, across the country, and the religious leaders, including the Hindus and the Muslims. And they have challenged me that offer the leadership that you have been telling us about. And that is why I have offered myself, and the youth of this Nairobi and the people that I work with in the churches and in the religious sector have declared me the people's governor for Nairobi. Right. And that is the investment that we have been doing since December last year, going to the 17 constituencies and the 85 wards. By the grace of God, we believe that Nairobians will run away from this tribal, corrupt politics, and for once elect somebody they can hold to account, like we did for Kibwana in Makueni. That's my prayer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We got to bring this to a close. Thank you very much, the guys on Facebook, Mashia and Princess Julie and others, and everyone that has been following us. We appreciate you, all of you. Thank you very much indeed. This is the Gigi Report. I've been your host, Godfrey Gichuki. I'm so pleased that you've been listening to us. May the Lord bless you. We'll see you another time. Maybe there'll be a repeat. God bless you, and see you another time. Keep it elevate. God bless you, and bye for now.